started the stream. Just give me a moment. I gotta check a couple of things. Okay. And my bad. Who is it? Excuse me. I have brought lunch. Enter. Excuse me. After receiving approval, Kano entered the VIP room, pushing the serving cart that carried lunch. The servants called this room the Witch's VIP room. That was because Kinzo strictly ordered that it always be kept clean, so it could be used at any time. Even so, guests would not be allowed into this room, no matter who they were. That was why at some point, the servants had started calling the VIP room, which was supposedly to be set aside only to welcome the special person that Kinzo waited for, the witch from that portrait. And today, Kanon realized this was absolutely true. When he entered the room, the blonde-haired witch was gazing out the window. Outside, the rain was no longer falling weakly. As she looked out the beautiful rose garden, which had been tended to for over several days for today's sake, as she saw the winds and rain ravaged it, was she struck by some sentimental feelings. Kanna was not able to tell anything more from her back, which faced him. I will prepare the meal. Beatrice. Kanna went out of his way to call the witch's name, hoping that she'd turn around. He wanted to know. He wanted to know if the witch who tempted him and Shannon in the past had really appeared again. When he did, the witch whose name had been called laughed, her back still facing him. Holding back her voice, she laughed. Kanna was startled. It was almost as though she had read his mind and knew he had called out to her, hoping to make her turn around.
It smells good. It appears Kraus hired a good cook.
Yes. He is called Goda and he was employed here recently.
There is nothing better than being skilled at cooking. Delicious food completes the 3 pillars of pleasure for living in the human world. It is the secret to preventing boredom after 1,000 years.
Kanna and the witch's eyes met. Then she grinned. Without a doubt, certainly. This was clearly the witch from that day, Beatrice. The witch that no one but he and Shannon could see in the past finally held a form, and had arrived openly as the guest to the entrance hall.
Beatrice. It has been a long time, Canon the furniture.
It has been quite some time. Kanon tried to remember to be polite to this guest for the time being. But the visit of this suspicious witch made the dark clouds start to enshroud his heart, especially considering today was the family conference.
You appear to be uneasy about what I plan to do now that I have appeared. Am I right?
Kanon didn't force an answer. This witch probably reads minds, so it's pointless to go to the trouble of saying it out loud. Of course, she could read even his inner resistance. So the witch giggled at Kanon's childish defiance.
I came to fulfill my final promise with Kinzo.
Your final promise with the master.
I lent Kinzo a mountain of gold. When Kinzo gives that up, it will be returned to me with interest. I came to accept that interest tonight.
I don't know what you're talking about. However, uncertainty began to gather in his heart. Whatever this witch had to say, it couldn't be anything good.
There's no mistake. Whenever witches have something to say, it's never anything good. You are correct. However, like scissors, the potential of witches depends entirely on how they're used. Sometimes there are those like King Solomon who succeed in great exploits. However, most who make use of us end up meeting a cruel fate, just like in fairy tales. But Kinzo is crafty. He hasn't incorporated even my collection of the interest into his ceremony. Is he an absurdly powerful magician who can surpass even me? Or else a mere fool possessed by madness? Amusing. Truly amusing.
Canon couldn't guess what the witch was muttering and laughing about. All he knew was that anything that made this witch laugh must have the exact opposite meaning for everyone else. In the back of his head, the horrifying words the witch had spat at him in the past began to resurface.
What did you think I'd lend you my power and ask for nothing in exchange? I'll gladly assist a pair in love. In exchange, I'll enjoy watching the cruel fate they'll eventually meet. I have never come across a better show, not over the course of 1,000 years. Could it be that you... Behold the sweet fish river running through my beloved hometown. You who seek the golden land, follow its path downstream in search of the key.
The witch suddenly began to recite a bizarre poem. It was something he remembered hearing. Could it be the witch's epitaph? There was no mistake. It was the epitaph that accompanied the portrait of the witch Kinzo had out on display. The relatives had guessed that it referred to the location of the hidden gold, but no one knew what it meant for sure. The witch suddenly began reciting the epitaph.
Canon, since you are furniture, I imagine you heard about from Kinzo. Hold on, I have to check something. Okay, good. Okay. Sorry about that. Canon, since you are furniture, I imagine you've heard about from Kinzo. The day when everything will be returned to the Golden Land has come. Rejoice! The day when you will be free from the shame of living as furniture has finally arrived. I believe you've waited for that for a long time. To furniture which finds no value in its own existence, merely existing day to day, must be nothing but agony. To those with souls, this world is worth clinging to, but those without souls find this world to be full of nothing but suffering.
Complicated expressions flitted across Kanon's face. This is the day of release that Kanon had been looking forward to. However, the coming of this day had been mercilessly sudden. And for some reason, he didn't like the hateful tone used by this witch as she informed him of the coming of this long-awaited day of rest. Kanon couldn't even decide what emotion he should be feeling.
Why do you not rejoice? Could you actually have some regrets left in the real world? As mere furniture?
I have no regrets, because I am furniture.
You truly are a model specimen of furniture. How nice, how nice. However, it won't be any fun if you have no regrets at all.
Are you saying regrets are how you find pleasure?
That is correct. Most witches who live for 1,000 years get tired of life. In order to escape boredom, I adorn people's faces with fruit and brandy, and cook them like cakes. I find humans dancing through oppressive fates inside an oven to be oh so very entertaining. You see, I'm actually a tad famous in this regard. So much so that the rare guests come far away to see my skill at cooking. Perhaps this is something that mere furniture cannot understand.
Kanon couldn't understand what the witch was saying. However, he fully realized this was a terrifying being who treated the fate of humans as a show, enjoying it whenever some harm befell them. However, furniture has no soul or life, much less a fate. Pitiful furniture who does nothing but serve until the day they're released from the real world. To furniture like that, the witch, who had come to release them from everything, was a being to be received with overflowing affection. Even though the day Canon should have been waiting impatiently for had come, he was confused by his own inability to accept it easily. Why was it? The face of Shannon, the person he loved as a sister, rose to his mind, and for some reason, Jessica's face did too. Canon bit his lower lip hard enough that it hurt. Thinking about Jessica like that was something furniture must never do, even though he thought he'd known that, even though he'd complained about Shannon's relationship. Why was it that Jessica rose into his mind at a time like this? He felt a little shameful in his known naivety, and to forget about Jessica, he turned his thoughts to Shannon. Shannon is also furniture. She has no reason not to rejoice at the coming of the day when all will return to nothingness. But Shannon, through her relationship with George, has experienced an emotion forbidden to furniture. Even though she isn't qualified to be bonded with him, she's still trapped in a dream that she isn't allowed to have. Will Shannon be able to joyfully accept this development? No, she won't. Shannon still has lingering regrets. Those will probably become a great source of pain and torture for her. And those lingering regrets were planted by none other than this witch. Why? Because that would be more interesting, nothing more. This day that Shannon should have been waiting impatiently for will probably be a harsh burden for her, giving her emotions that she must never experience. I thank you for granting me, us furniture, the day of our release. And I hate you for making this day so difficult for Shannon to accept.
I wanted to make you suffer from your regrets as well, just like Shannon. However, you continue to live like furniture with foolish honesty, never getting ensnared by me. And yet it seems you love Shannon a little too dearly, right? Shannon's regrets are now your regrets. Will those feelings transform into hatred for me? If you wish to kill me, give it a try. As Kinzo's furniture, you should at least have that much power, right? However, if you kill me, the day of rest for furniture will not come for all eternity. Could you bear to live with that? Are you truly capable of resisting when I try to release you? Kneel!
What?
Kneel and kiss my shoes. Otherwise, I will leave this place. I'll go back and never show myself again for all eternity. So, Kano, do you think you could bear to live like that? If the door to the Golden Land is open, your hard life as furniture will end. If you desire, I can even give you life as a human. After that, you'll be on the same level as Jessica. Surely you want to experience that taste of love. There's no point trying to hide it. After seeing Shannon indulge in the sweet sea of love, you grew jealous. You are sorely tempted to know the taste of love.
Stop it! Stop it! Are you trying to ensnare me again? I won't be reduced to a toy for your amusement.
Huh. Then I be satisfied with Shannon alone. After all, you aren't the only one who is implanted with a seed. Even fruiting plants will sometimes fail to bear fruit after all. The one who obtains the key must then travel to the Golden Land in accordance with these rules. On the first twilight, offer the 6 chosen by the key as sacrifices. On the second twilight, those who shall remain will repair the part who are close.
The witch recited the epitaph again. It was so sudden and diverged so strongly from the current topic. However, that challenging smile made it seem almost as though she was using that epitaph as a threat against Canon.
Do you not understand? For the ceremony of the epitaph to succeed at the second twilight, 2 who are close must be offered as sacrifices. It could be any of the 2 who are close, a husband and a wife, or even a pair of lovers. According to the rules of the ceremony, who will be selected is up to me to decide on a whim. Don't you think there could be no more fitting sacrifice for the second twilight than Shannon as she is now?
You dirty. Canon realized something. So today, he thought he'd given up everything else and lived as furniture, acting like furniture. But in reality, that wasn't true. He loved Shannon too dearly. Therefore, when Shannon was in pain, Canon shared in that. If only Shannon had continued to live as furniture. Indifferently like Canon, without any regrets in this world, he wouldn't have had to be in so much pain. Oh shit, I forgot to do something. Sorry. There's something that... Oh, okay. Ugh. Seriously. Okay, my bad. The witch planned to toy with Shannon, who had known the taste of love. No, whom she tossed the Let's read that again. If only Shannon had continued to live as furniture, indifferently like Shannon, without any regrets in this world, he wouldn't have to be in so much pain. The witch planned to toy with Shannon, who had known the taste of love. No, whom she had tossed the Seriously! Try again. If only Shannon had continued to live as furniture, indifferently like Shannon, without any regrets in this world, he wouldn't have had to be in so much pain. The witch planned to toy with Shannon, who had known the taste of love. No, whom she had taught the taste of love, as she killed her. She wouldn't be welcomed into the Golden Land and granted a compassionate release. Instead, if the witch had her way, she'd be used as a sacrifice, subjected to the utmost of torture and pain, forcibly turned into a human foundation for this evil ceremony. And this witch would probably make Shannon meet this horrible fate for no other reason than it was amusing to her. Furthermore, she was threatening to do this so she could make Shannon, who had never submitted to the witch, finally give in. It was that simple. In the end, though, he tried to resist the witch and avoid pleasing her. He had only made things more amusing for her. After all, he was furniture, no a toy. They were nothing but toys, meant to only distract her from boredom. Damn.
What will you do, Canon? If you need, I might refrain from choosing Shannon as a sacrifice, see? I've always wanted to make a toy like you surrender someday.
Without even a fragment of elegance, the witch sneered at Canon and laughed indecently. That's right. She predicted Canon's submission even before he made that decision himself. Canon chose to get down on both knees in front of the witch. It didn't matter what happened to himself. However, the one thing he couldn't bear to see was Shannon, who had given him his only reason to live during his days as furniture, being toyed with like this. It was why. Kissing the shoes of the witch was an easy oath for Canon to make. His quivering lips actually touched the witch's shoe. Beatrice let out a look of ecstasy rise to her face, then laughed with a voice filled to bursting. At the moment, the witch, who had grown bored of life after 1,000 years, was completely filled with the evil emotion that she lived for. Okay, let's see. Oops, my bad. When lunch ended, the relatives moved to the parlor. Rosa had bought a high-class brand of black tea from a famous store in Ginza that had been served in the parlor was filled with a pleasant aroma. Since the children were there too, the adults tried to interact like normal relatives on the surface, talking peacefully about recent events and how their children were growing up. It started raining. The children couldn't do anything but sit here, like watching TV, unable to go outside. Maria was apparently a TV kid, and she kept watching a boring daytime program without getting bored, giggling all by herself. At first, Bowler joined in, seeming to deepen his French relationship with Maria, but he'd gotten up early that morning and was gradually hit by a wave of drowsiness. Oh, that's a big yawn. Did you get up really early this morning? Well, something like that. Now that all the tension's gone, I've started getting sleepy while listening to the sound of the rain. Tension? You call freaking out like that tension? At least it is for me. Balor gave another great yawn and slowly lay down on the sofa. He really did look tired. George and the others had tried talking to him, thinking it was a sign of boredom. When they realized he really was sleepy, they decided to let him be. My. They say that if you lie down right after eating, it'll become a mackerel. Stop kidding around. Koda said we'd have calf steak tonight. I'd make it mackerel steak. Kumasawa, he looks pretty tired. Could you get him a blanket? Here you go. Kumasawa brought a blanket over from the shelf. The large parlor wasn't cold, but the air had gotten a little chilly, so when Balor took the blanket, he immediately wrapped himself up in it like a turtle. You really were sleepy. Then, would you like to wake up? I'll wake you. Nah, I can't say I got any particular requests. You can wake me up if you need something from me, and if you don't, just let me sleep forever. Night. Balor's sleeping? A nap? A nap? I'll do it too! Hey, Maria! Balor's sleepy, so you gotta leave him alone. Kumasawa, could you give us another blanket? It was doubtful whether Maria really wanted to take a nap. She probably saw Balor wrapped up in a blanket and wanted to do the same. When she received the blanket from Kumasawa, she joyfully wrapped herself up in it and set up camp again in front of the TV. Sheesh. And just when we finally gather all the cousins together after 6 years, this guy doesn't have a clue that he's the main guest of this family conference, does he? I can still hear you. We took it easy eating lunch, and there's even a typhoon and rain outside now. Since I got nothing to do, that means it isn't my turn yet. I wonder about that. If you have a passive attitude like that and never do anything unless something else happens, your life will be pretty boring, right? No, that's not what I mean. How should I put it? At times like this, I like to think about it this way. It isn't my turn. If this were a play, it wouldn't be my turn to go on stage. So the best thing to do is to stay on the wings of the stage. You're always the main character of your own life, right? Why are you acting like you're in a supporting role? You gotta move forward by yourself and get up on the stage. That's not what I mean. I'm trying to say it's not my turn yet. Sorry, I'm sleepy and my mind's a mess. Give me a break. No kidding. You're so sleepy you're spouting nonsense. Let's leave him be for now. Hey, I can't let him get away with saying crap like that. You're always the main character in your own life. I've had serious issues with what Balor's saying. He's just half asleep. Don't take him too seriously. It's just that lack of guts. You know, not wanting to go on stage just because you think you can't be the main character. Something about it just pisses me off. Hello! With distant eyes, Jessica gazed out the window, at the gray rose garden obscured by rain. When she put her foot up against the glass, the pleasantly cool sensation seemed to have chased away memories she was trying to forget. Ah yes, Turn of the Golden Witch, where Balor does nothing. So, it wasn't just your turn yet? Is that it? And just when we get up on the stage. In that case, who the heck is the main character on the stage? Dang, it's like you think you can do whatever you want. What the hell is all this? It's all screwed up!
I was merely amused that your reason for denying me was based on whether there were 18 or 19 people. I just tried changing my opening move. No more. Your greatest basis for denying me is simply that I wasn't laid out as a piece on the game board. So all I have to do is start by focusing on the queen, like this. Isn't opening the row for the queen on your first turn one of the classic moves in chess?
Quit playing around! There's no way I can accept something like this, right? A witch came in, walking right through the entrance hall, you say? Don't mess with me!
What's this? In the last game, I gave you incredible freedom in making your moves correct. This time, all I'm doing is moving my pieces in response to your moves. Are you already giving up right at the start?
You bastard! Don't mess with me! Like hell I'd give in! Great move. Go ahead and just move however you like. Okay, so your turn's far from over, is it? Move however you want. Form a huge battle formation while you still can. I'll definitely withstand you. I'll definitely corner you. Come at me the best you can. I don't want you to have any excuses. You aren't even close to making me accept something like a witch. That's right. Just now, it looked like Maria's candy was fixed with magic, but you might have actually had another one of the same candy hidden in your pocket and switched them with that little show, making it all like you fixed it with magic. Yeah, that's right. That has to be it. It's useless. It's all useless.
Oh yeah, that's true. Rosa saw the moment the candy split into butterflies, correct?
Who cares about that? That was a hallucination or a trick, or maybe she just saw it wrong. That isn't a big problem.
So you throw out the part where you can't explain as trivial. I see. Is that your move in response to mine? You've dug your own grave, Ushiramiya battler. It still isn't your turn yet. Allow me to make my move for a little longer. It has barely begun. The turn of the witch.
Wait, how can he deny magic when his current circumstances can only be explained with magic? Straight up, don't worry about it. I remember the first time when I watched the anime, I just accepted all the scenes. I'm like, yeah, it's canon. When they started hearing Balor's snores, the relatives went in their separate ways, leaving the parlor and letting Balor sleep in silence. Escape from the family drama. Even though it had been so lively in the parlor with so many people gathered there, when all of them scattered at once, they were swallowed up by the vast mansion. It created an eerie silence with no sound except that of the rain.
Nope. I haven't met a person like that even once. Aneki. I haven't met them. Kyrie, is that all true?
Even I only greeted her briefly when she came into the entrance hall. She looked like she was a bit over 20. I told her my name, but she didn't tell me hers. She was being guided by Genji, and I saw her go up to the 2nd floor. So it'd probably be faster to find Genji and ask him directly. Still, what a strange turn. Yeah, that's true. He kinda does, doesn't he? He's like, yeah, I'm not gonna do anything. Sleepy time. The mystery woman had spoken to Kyrie. Without naming herself, she sneered that Kyrie should have had a vague idea as to her identity. I brought someone to mind. Then there was her look-alike, the witch in the portrait.
What is this person trying to say she was? The witch of the portrait herself.
I realized she was probably laughing at me for that reason. Even though it was our first meeting, she spoke as though she knew I'm your second wife.
Oh, yeah. Yep, when you kind of think about it. Because Balor's like, I'm gonna just wait here and take a nap. Aneki, you really don't know anyone like that? You talk too much. I've never seen a blonde woman like that going in or out of this mansion.
That kind of thing doesn't matter. The problem's what happens if a woman starts calling herself Beatrice, if she starts calling herself the manager of father's assets.
Or maybe she plans to call herself his mistress's daughter and demand that she get a share of the inheritance. Either way, we have had one heck of a joker slip into the deck. Did Nissan bring her here? Or did father? This is bad. We thought we could manage something if we could corner Aniki in our talks. This takes us back to square one.
I don't know what kind of schemes you've been making when I'm not around here, but it looks like we've been given a little time to form a counter-strategy.
So explain just how the door could be locked.
The killer used the key with a technique similar to my Mr. Satan delayed action miracle punch, so the door only locked a minute or two after they used the key.
Yeah, better to have some time to prepare than to have that blonde-haired Neichan suddenly appear at the dinner table and scare the shit out of us.
Until we know why she's appeared, there's a limit to the kinds of counters we can make. What could she be after?
Isn't it obvious? She's going to claim that she's the rightful heir to Father's inheritance. Father's still captivated by Beatrice. If he had a daughter with her, you can bet that he'd want to leave all this fortune to her. She might even thrust some strange will in front of us. If we take it to court, we could probably claim a quarter of a half of it, but it'll probably be impossible to divvy out the inheritance until that's settled. We can't have that. I can't, and neither can you, Rudolph. And the same goes for Rosa, right?
Each one of us needs to gather money quickly for our own reasons. It's our biggest weak point. So, what are they after? Kiri, can you guess? This is all news to me, but it sounds like we're starting from the premise that we've got an urgent need to collect money, right? Ugh. Kiri, in a man's business, you sometimes need funding when you're on the offensive. Please understand that.
What's this, Rudolph? You didn't tell Kiri about it.
Sorry. I wasn't really hiding it. Actually, it was kinda... It's alright. If you decide it wasn't something you need to tell me about, I won't press you about it right here. What's more important is finding out what this Golden Witch is after, right?
Yeah.
Now that you know what we know, you can see how the enemy might come at us. Rudolph had a certain measure to trust in Kiri's unique technique of chessboard thinking. Of course, it didn't give him any more peace of mind than fortune-telling. But every time Rudolph was polishing up some important strategy, he'd give a great deal of thought to Kiri's advice. For a while, Kiri pressed her finger against her forehead, considering. Judging by the fact her arrival was kept hidden until today, she must be planning to catch us by surprise in some way. We can't tell for sure whether she's after a set or being recognized as a relative. However, her coming was kept secret until today, which probably means she didn't want us to take any measure against her, something that we might have done if we'd known beforehand. So her goal is probably something that could be hindered if we were to take measures against her. Understand?
I get it. So she had a will that Father already written or something that could prove that she's a blood relative. If she had some unshakable rock-solid proof like that, you'd think she had announced it beforehand. That's right. On the contrary, since we're in a position to doubt her, she should have brought a lawyer or an expert, and thrust some completely undeniable proof before us, if she could.
So the mere fact that she's launching a surprise attack shows that our foe can't win with a frontal assault. Makes sense? If a trump card can win no matter what, it's best to play it out in the open. If you play it out in a roundabout way, it might end up weakening its impact. Skipping to the conclusion, we can probably expect to be faced with some huge surprise. Something related either directly to or indirectly to the inheritance problem that's on everyone's minds. Our opponent probably plans to overawe us by simply the impact of the shock. However, no matter how great the impact might be, it cannot be absolute.
In other words, we have enough leeway to take advantage of this.
You've really got brains! Even understand this much is just as really reassuring. In other words, you're telling us not to get sucked into our opponent's place. In the end, it's an extremely simple conclusion. No matter what our opponent brings up, we should deal with it calmly without rushing things. This is the very first step in the art of negotiation. You really can't say you've predicted your opponent's thoughts with just this.
Come on! As usual, that was pretty good. Now we know that we got a little leeway to attack. It helps us relax a bit.
What we don't know is how she's connected to Kraus. Will it be a surprise for Kraus too, or was he actually the one who called her here in the first place? If it's the latter, that might make things very tiresome.
That's right. Secretly calling a mystery woman on the day of the family conference. It'd be a terrible taste, but it does feel like something that Nissan would do. Aneki, let's do this. As long as she can't clearly prove her identity, we won't accept her position in any way. That would be for the best. Already she's refused to introduce herself to Kyrie. We can't let our conference be disturbed by the statements of some unknown woman.
She might even show us proof that she's a blood relative. If she can prove father's blood runs through her veins, Like that maternity record document, there's nothing we can do.
It's always possible to suspect evidence has been faked. And even if it's real, in order to prove that the person in the documents is who we see, we need to check their condition at a hospital. At the very least, it'd be impossible to prove that now in Rokkenjima. You're right. So in other words, it's something like this. No matter what's shown to us now in Rokkenjima, it can't be accepted as true. We can't believe anything until the typhoon passes, and they prove to us at the proper place. Spotting all kinds of holes and stuff like this is Aneki's specialty. We'll be counting on you. Are you joking? You'll be helping too. We need the money. We need it quickly in a large sum. Our fates are all tied together in this. As if we just stand by and let some suddenly appearing mystery woman destroy the inheritance we're after.
Rudolph and Ava's always formed a united front as siblings at times like these, sickened by the idea their own inheritance might be snatched away by an outsider. Kyrie noticed how indomitable they looked, shook her head slightly, and gave a small sigh as she gazed out the window.
If only they could always be united in a sense.
Outside it was still raining heavily, and everything was gray, having lost all of its vibrance. The lush garden had the sun shone on it earlier now felt like a lie. For some reason, the words Ava had said a second ago kept repeating in Kyrie's head.
So in other words, it's something like this. No matter what's shown to us now in Rokkenjima, it can't be accepted as true.
There was an odd nuance to those words. At the moment, the island was closed off by the typhoon and isolated. They had no access to the public institutions and no hospital. So on this island, no matter what happened, no matter what manner of proof related to the outside world was shown, it could always be possible to call it a lie. It would be impossible to prove that something was the truth. Now they were isolated from the outside world. All truth rose proof lay in the outside world could be called lies. So does that mean that right now, in this Rokkenjima, no truth exists at all? Does that mean that everything will now be ruled by lies alone? It almost gives the illusion that we've left the human world of truth and have been shut away inside another world, one of lies. Kyrie remembered that woman's appearance one more time. She remembered both what she had looked like and the witch of the portrait. On this island which had been cut off from the world of humans, shut away in the world of non-humans, a non-human being has come to visit. Kyrie couldn't think of a smile that appeared on that woman's face as anything other than the portent of misfortune. I get the feeling my chessboard thinking to this missed a vital premise, one that will be necessary to understand my misfortune-bearing smile. Yes, that smile made me feel as though someone inhuman was mocking me. I based my reasoning on the assumption that our opponent is a human like us. However, just like this island is now, she may be a being that isn't human, and human values may not matter to her. If that's true, all of our reasoning is useless. For what reason has this witch been invited here today? Only one thing is certain. Now in this instant, she's staying somewhere in this vast mansion. Maria, around lunchtime today, we met her outside, right? A woman. Who was she?
I said it over and over. Beatrice.
Maria, did you ever meet Beatrice before that?
I've met her every year.
Every year? In this mansion on Rokkenjima. I don't know what means. Is that true?
Yes.
How long have you been meeting her? How many years ago did it start?
I don't know.
You don't know? What do you mean? Was it last year? 2 years ago?
Longer than that.
Rosa was astonished. Only the Ushinomiya family mansion existed on the island. So there couldn't have been any other humans other than themselves here. And yet Maria said that she'd been meeting with this suspicious woman every year during the family conference. What if Maria said what was the truth, and that strange woman called Beatrice had been at the family conference every year? That's insane. Is Maria saying that eerie woman was at the family conference every year, and none of us ever noticed it? Even though Rosa had just met the woman herself a couple of hours ago in the rose garden, she was overcome with a strange emotion that told her not to accept that existence. What in the world did I meet with earlier today in the rose garden as the typhoon grew near and the winds roared? Maria, you said you met with her every year. What do you do when you two meet?
We sing songs and learn magic, and I learned how to draw magic circles.
Really? That's incredible. Maria, you often draw scribbles. I mean, magic circles in your notebook, right? Did she teach you that too?
You know what? Beatrice drew examples to teach me. Come on! Look!
Maria joyfully fished around her handbag. Then she drew out a single notebook and began opening that to the page. Most of the pages were covered with drawings that were literally scribbles. All of them were occult-like things. And while it might sound rude to Maria, who was joyfully flipping through the pages, they were all creepy.
Look here! Beatrice drew it!
In other words, Beatrice is an artist. Each one of the pages in the group Maria opened to had an eerie magic circle. Oh hey, same here! Furthermore, at a glance, Rosa could see that Maria hadn't drawn them. The strength of the strokes, the thickness of the lines, how clean the shape was. By itself, it wasn't enough to guess the background of the person who had written it. It was enough for Rosa to be sure that it was someone older than Maria. Rosa had to accept it now. There was a person on Rokenjima that she herself hadn't known the existence until now. And this person had come to the family conference every year to play with Maria. Maria, does the witch Beatrice live here? Or does she live outside the mansion like us?
Beatrice is the witch of Okanjima, so she lives on the island.
So you're saying she's on the island even on days when it isn't the family conference, right? I don't know what means! Yes or no?
Yes.
What in the... I can't believe it! How long has this unknown witch been living on this island? I used to live on this island. I lived on this island passing the time in the mansion and the rose garden. And even so, I never encountered a witch like that. Right?
Mama? What's wrong? Mama?
My head hurts. I was probably getting a little mixed up with my emotions and memories when I was a young girl. When I was young, I was terrified of the witch, unlike Maria. So for me, the name Beatrice was a synonym for terror. Surely my fear from those days had been revived by the appearance of a woman going by that name. She can't be a witch. She's obviously a human calling herself Beatrice, right? That's right. That witch entrusted me with an envelope. What in the world could that be? Rosa pulled that Western envelope out of her pocket. Yes! Same here! I can't wait until episode 3. It was one of the envelopes that bore the Ushiramiya family crest, which Kinzo used for his personal letters. And its red sealing wax had even been sealed by the head's ring, which Kinzo held. Which meant this envelope belonged to the Ushiramiya family head. In other words, it was from father. Why was a woman calling herself Beatrice holding it, and why did she give it to me? That's right. I'm sure she said to read this aloud at dinner. What in the world could be written inside? A sense of uncertainty gripped Rosa, as if opening this envelope might let loose an incredible misfortune. However, at the same time, a little curiosity sprouted out too, urging to find out what was written inside before the other siblings could. Using common sense, one might guess that it contained a huge decision somehow related to father's inheritance. Actually, since she received it from a woman who called herself Beatrice, there simply had to be some connection. Does this mean this person wants, not just the 4, but a total of 5 people to be included in the inheritance? I needed a large sum of money and I can't wait long. I feel like such a sinful dart for discussing father's inheritance while he's still alive. But this is no time to spout off cheap ideals. And I even colluded with Rudolph and Ava in order to get some money out of Kraus. Coming from that position, I can't help but see the appearance of the witch as a sign of approaching misfortune. What could be written in here? I'm sure it's something frightening. Shall I read it secretly myself first? The witch requested that it be read at the dinner table with everyone gathered. If that's what she wanted, why couldn't she just read it out loud herself at dinner? Why should she go all the trouble of entrusting it to me? Simply put, is it because she doesn't mind if I read it secretly beforehand? It'd be better to secretly read the contents first. I understand that means breaking my promise, but this is no longer the time for cheap ideals. Depending on the contents, I should probably discuss it with Ava and Rudolph too. They're always really good thinkers when it comes to this kind of thing. When I gulped, I put my hand to the red sealing wax. Something suddenly pulled on my sleeve. I let out a small scream. What? Maria, don't scare me like that. What is it?
Ah! You mustn't.
Huh? In Maria's expression was the same portent of misfortune she felt from the witch, and it sent a tingle up her spine.
Beatrice told Mama to read that letter during dinner. You mustn't break a promise with a witch.
That's not it. I just wanted to look at the envelope for a second. I'll keep my promise. After all, I always tell you to keep your promises. Of course I keep my promises. Uh-huh.
Yes, Mama's a good girl.
That laugh. It isn't cute, so stop it.
Oh,
Come to think of it, you received a letter too, Maria. What was written inside?
I haven't opened it. Beatrice said I mustn't open it until the time comes to open it. So I'm taking good care of it. Ah!
I see. You listen well to what Beatrice says, don't you, Maria?
Ah! I'm Beatrice's disciple, so I listen well to what my teacher says.
Yeah, she's a better mom than you. Sorry. I see. Rosa realized something. Mixed in Maria's gaze was a glint of someone that wasn't her. If Rosa broke the rules and opened the envelope here, Beatrice would definitely learn of it. Because Maria was the witch's disciple. Maria was in contact with that witch. I'll keep my promise, so tell Beatrice not to worry, okay?
Ah! I'll tell her.
Hey, Maria. If I wanted to speak to Beatrice, how could I meet her? You know, so I was thinking, yeah, Maria doesn't do her normal. Just like Maria, I got no interest in things that don't interest me.
I don't know. Beatrice is very fickle, so she always appears suddenly. I don't know a way to get her to meet me. But you know, she's always watching me. So if I get in trouble, she'll definitely come and save me afterwards. She'll definitely erase her form and is hiding close to me.
Don't I always tell you to stop laughing like that? Uh-oh. I forgot to put a warning. Shit. I'll do that later then, next time. Rosa reflexively hit Maria on the head. I put a stop to Maria's laughing, but I wasn't able to erase the color that had risen to those eyes, a color that seemed to bear a portent of misfortune. Rosa swore. She swore that at least until they left this island, she would not leave Maria alone. She couldn't allow an unknown being to make direct contact with her daughter any longer. Alright, she's finally doing her job. Properly. Not really. Sort of. Well, at least she's worried about her, which is good. Maria still hasn't come back. I wonder if she's getting scolded by Aunt Rosa again. Ever since they met Maria at the airport, she's been romping around, chatting about Halloween the whole time. But maybe she cut loose a little too much, acting a little too boisterous on the plane, on the boat, during lunch, because Rosa had cautioned her several times. At times like that, Aunt Rosa tended to not scold her much in front of people. More often, she would take Maria aside and scold her alone. So since Maria had been called off somewhere, they figured she must be getting scolded. When they looked at the clock, they realized it was almost 6. Of course, they couldn't imagine she being scolded all this time. Maybe it was time for some anime that she watched every week to start. She probably hadn't left the mansion's parlor.
Maybe Balor woke up and they've been playing together.
After all, Maria thinks of Balor as a new friend. She must have had a lot of fun when she's playing Halloween with Balor at the airport. Balor looked like he was having a lot of fun himself. Maybe he's gotten big, but he hasn't changed a bit.
That's true. I get the feeling Balor was gracious enough to remain as he was 6 years ago.
Shannon, do you remember what he was like then?
Yes, because he was, well, very energetic.
I also remember the 4 of us playing together 6 years ago. Shannon acted a lot like a big sister back then. That's right! I get the feeling she was even more dependable than she is now.
But back then, I didn't truly understand my place, so, I did quite a few rude things.
Maybe so. Yeah.
Don't worry about understanding your place in that sense. When you're on the job is one thing, but when you're taking your break and with us, like now, I'd rather you stay and be friendly, just like the old days. That's right! There's nothing wrong with acting differently depending on whether you're the servant Shannon or off-duty Sayo. You aren't a slave, you're just working as a servant, right? I think of you, Sayo, as my oldest friend.
Thank you very much, milady.
It seemed that Shannon understood the hidden meaning behind Jessica's words. After all, she heard a bit from Jessica about Kanon's history from both of them. Apparently, George had heard something of that history too. He walked toward the window, looked up at the darkening, raining sky.
Kanon may be childish in some ways, but I think he's starting to grow a bit in the way of his thinking.
Well, come on, quit it already. Well, I guess I let myself get swept away by the mood once or twice. You know, after watching you two, I might have gotten a bit jealous, feeling like I was getting left behind. But forget about me. More importantly, how's it going between you two? It looks like it's going pretty good, huh?
I wonder.
Yes, it's going very well. Shannon was lost for words, her face red, while George answered brightly and immediately. That carefree attitude made it easy to see their relationship was proceeding so perfectly, it'd make anyone envious. Dang, I'm jealous! So does that mean Shannon's gonna resign and have a party soon?
I wonder.
Oh, there's a good question. I wonder what she'll say. George laughed teasingly as though pressing Shannon for an answer. It was probably the way they flirted when they were alone. Jessica could only smile bitterly and say, yes, yes, thank you, that's enough. I have a dream. I don't just mean some ambition to become the leader of my own domain in business. I also dream of building a happy family together with a partner I can spend my life with. I want to have 2 kids at the very least. It'd be nice to be able to do some sports as a whole family. And many more things besides that. I often talk with Shannon about that kind of thing. Though every time I do, she always laughs and says I'm getting ahead of myself. For some reason, even at that age I am now, I find myself thinking about what it'd be like to live peacefully in my old age. With healthy grown-up kids and grandchildren running around all over the place. If only I could spend the rest of my life at a slow pace surrounded by that together with Shannon forever. Yeah, you're definitely getting ahead of yourself. But how should I say it? It sounds like you, George.
Being surrounded by a family like that would probably be so wonderful. The ideal family I painted in my mind is something like that.
To Shannon, who'd been raised in an orphanage, that harmonious image of a family was probably something to be yearned for. And George, who had made an absolute promise to grant that wish for her, may have truly been a fitting person for her to spend her life with. To Jessica, Shannon was a precious friend. George was surely the one most fit to entrust that friend's future to. Well, I don't want to throw cold water on you guys, but Uncle Hideyoshi aside, What are you gonna do about Aunt Ava? Wouldn't it be pretty tough to win her over? There's no reason for anyone to worry about something like that. No one but me gets to say who I choose to be my partner. I will bring Shannon happiness. Whose permission do I need for that? Whoa. George, that was cool. Can't believe you say stuff that embarrassing out loud. I don't remember you ever being that kind of character in the past. As they say, if you don't see a boy for 3 days, you should watch him closely. I grow as much as anyone. I intend to study more and more and grow to be the man Shannon deserves and the one who can bring her happiness. Maybe even George realized how embarrassing the words coming out of his mouth were. His face turned very slightly red and he scratched his head. George, it's okay. I'm sure Mother will be difficult, but you can leave it to me. You'll see. I'll make all the relatives accept you as my partner. Awesome! I'm jealous of you, Shannon. Seriously. I'm very grateful that you're willing to go so far. Come to think of it, I'm starting to feel like a third wheel here. Maybe I better leave, huh? As Jessica rose with a forced smile from the bed she'd been sitting on, the phone rang. Before Jessica picked up the receiver, wondering what this could be about, Shannon looked at the clock and jumped. Apparently, she spent too much time on her break. I'm sorry. I forgot it was time for work. Then, if you'll excuse me. At the same time, Jessica picked up the phone and Shannon began dashing out of the room. Shannon, again, the usual time at the usual place. Yes. Excuse me. Hello, it's Jessica. Genji. Yeah. Shannon's going back to you guys now. We held her up, so please don't scold her. Yeah, yes. I see. So it's almost time for them to get ready for dinner. Oh my god, that's painful. Many plates were lined up on the counter in the kitchen. Preparations for dinner were proceeding steadily. The number of plates lined up there was 19. That was one more than should have been set up for an annual family conference. I can't accept it! Why can't I deliver it directly? Goda flared up at Genji, paying no heed to the pot that was spitting steam. The master enjoyed eating alone in his study, so his food needed to be served in that room. However, that was something that always happened. The kitchen! Yes! Of course, Goda would want to set the table for the master with his own hands, since he put his heart and soul in his cooking. But the master had imposed a strict rule that none but the servants bearing the golden eagle crest enter his study. So while Goda could be able to greet the master from outside the study, not once had he been granted the honor of carrying his cooking inside. Goda was always irritated by this. Of course, he was a newcomer in terms of years of service. However, he piled up plenty of experience from his previous jobs. He was quite confident that he'd be able to perform in front of Kinzo in a manner that would do him no disservice. And yet, simply because he was not permitted to wear the golden eagle, he had still not been blessed with this honor. Yes! We gotta bring your inescapable Beelzebub in the kitchen. Can you imagine what damage that would do to his pride? You might think that tonight was a repeat of that, but it wasn't. Because tonight, it was a person other than the master who wanted their food carried to their room. Apparently, this person is extremely rare and honored guest, and we've been given strict orders to treat them in the same manner as the master, the family head. Goda must have wanted to earn some points by serving this honored guest with his own hands. After all, he was an extremely vain person. If he wasn't qualified to serve the master, then at least a guest of the same rank. He simply couldn't find time during lunch, so Kano had gone in his place. So he truly decided to personally serve this person tonight's meal, the best dinner of the year. But Genji had put a stop to that. Something about how Goda didn't wear the golden eagle. After being told once more that he wasn't qualified, Goda lost his patience. Ah, so heartrending. Goda, I cannot do anything more than watch like this from the shadows. Kumasawa, if you have enough free time to dawdle around, please get the dining hall ready. Is the tablecloth set? My apologies. When it came her turn to bear his wrath, Kumasawa slid out into the hall.
Beatrice is the exact same rank as the master. All rules regarding her to be respected, just as much as those involving the master. Goda, please devote your attention entirely toward your own tasks and serve all the relatives.
I wouldn't mind if it was you, Genji, but is it really okay to let a child serve such a guest? If she made some blunder, it would be quite embarrassing. I know they served here a long time, but that doesn't mean that they've been trained in the proper areas. If you'll allow me to speak freely, they're completely lacking the fundamentals that might qualify them to interact with such a guest. Goto spoke bluntly, even though Shao was standing right there in the kitchen. Shao was the one whom Genji had ordered to carry dinner to Beatrice's room. By the ranking system among the servants permitted to wear the golden eagle, Shao certainly was the second highest in rank. The highest rank Genji went to set the table in Kinzo's room, then it fell to Shao to set the table in Beatrice's room. Goto's pride was always horribly injured by this ranking system. At times like this, he spoke up bluntly and rudely against Shannon and Kano. Goto kept raising examples of each Shannon's failures until now, making a ruckus about how she couldn't do this or was terrible at that. Oh, yep. It's always that bias, that Ushiromiya bias. The women can't be the leaders, and Goto can't get proper respect even though he's been working at a job like this for longer and has more experience. Oof. Shao, who listened to this with her head hung in shame, heard Kanon's voice from behind her. Kanon had been leaning against the wall in the hallway near the kitchen entrance, a blind spot from the inside, and had been listening to all this. He probably knew if he entered the kitchen, the sparks would start to fly his way. I've got to say it. The man's scum. Fuck that guy.
But we can learn a lot about the fundamentals of entertaining guests from him. Goto has learned so much, so he'd be a great reference.
Plus, he cooks food, and that's a forgivable thing. Nei-san, you sure are nice.
More importantly, is the guest in the VIP room really Beatrice, as they say?
Yes. I met her when I was sent to serve her lunch. There can be no doubt it's her.
Really? Was she doing well?
Kano remembered that he and Shao had different impressions of Beatrice. To Shano, Beatrice was a cupid of love, who had granted her magic to establish her relationship with George. Kano's like, I'm gonna defend my sister. Judging by the expression that rose to her face, it looked like she couldn't wait to inform Beatrice of how her relationship with George had progressed. However, Kano already knew that Witch came here with a terrifying goal in mind. The nebulous witch that only they'd seen, able to see in the past, had now revived so fully she could walk openly through that front door, and even having the dinner carried over to her. Once she vanished in front of Kano, the witch said something about how her power was still weak. So if that witch was appearing now so openly, it means she finally regained her former power. She said something else, too. She definitely said that she'd sown the seeds of love, while fully aware they would fail. And she said even more. She definitely said the day that finally come, upon which the doors of the Golden Land would be opened. Oof. Shannon. She's planning to hold some bizarre ceremony with the master. You can bet it'll be something too horrible to imagine, and no one will be able to resist.
What are you talking about?
She came here. She came here as the master requested, so the doors of the Golden Land would open, and so that everything would be returned to the Golden Land. She definitely said that to me. In the past, the two of them, as furniture waiting for Kinzo, had been told the opening of the door of the Golden Land meant. So Shannon understood everything without having to ask a single question, and because of that, she felt a deep despair. Something that tore at Kanon's heart as he looked at that expression twisted with grief. How could? Why? Why now? Oops, that's Shannon's voice. How could? Why? Why now? Didn't I tell you? We are furniture. Because you acted like a human because of love. You're incapable of obediently accepting the day our servants comes to an end.
Once, I wish this day would come.
But it never came, year after year. I didn't know how long we'd be forced to endure suffering as furniture. So I thought that day of rest would come for all eternity.
I thought the same thing. I believe it would definitely come someday. So I never forgot that I'm furniture, but Nason, you did forget.
It's my fault, isn't it? It was I who...
Yeah, it's your fault, Nason. If only you hadn't experienced love, we'd both be happy that this day finally come. You built up too many pointless regrets, even though you knew you'd have to leave this world someday.
Will the ceremony begin tonight?
Yes. As she said one more thing. Tonight George will probably give you the engagement ring, Nason.
That was a fact. George supposedly had an engagement ring hidden in his pocket today. Surely he would hand it over tonight.
She brought you two together, planning to use you as sacrifices of the second twilight. Get it? She tempted you and took advantage of you.
I see. I never thought of that.
But she told me. She promised if you don't accept the engagement ring tonight, you won't be chosen as a sacrifice, Nason. I think our chances of being able to go to the Golden Land together are very slim.
There will be 13 sacrifices. Only 5 will be left alive. The chances of us being part of that group are tiny. But if you just accept... Oops. Sorry, that's Canon's line.
There will be 13 sacrifices. Only 5 will be left alive. The chances of us being part of that group are tiny. But if you just accept her offer, those chances will rise. I want to take that bet.
Our salvation is in the Golden Land. We're gonna reach that place and gain humanity.
Oops. Sorry, why do I keep reading that as Shannon's line? I'm really tired. Our salvation is in the Golden Land. We're gonna reach that place and gain humanity. And then I want to live life as a human together with you, Nason. If we do that, we might be able to find true love.
In the past, we used to dream about being able to go to the Golden Land. If we go there, any wish will be granted. We'll be safe from this pain. That's what we believed. However, in this ceremony, only a few people would be invited to the Golden Land, chosen by fate and chance. Everyone else would lose their life as a sacrifice midway through the ceremony. However, in the past, Shannon and Canon had thought whether they had reached the Golden Land or were sacrificed, they'd still be released from their duties as furniture. It meant the ceremony would definitely bring release to furniture like them no matter what happened.
I don't like it. Together with you, I want to make up for all the suffering we endured. I won't become a sacrifice. Nisa and I will remain alive, and we'll reach the Golden Land together. So I won't let you become a sacrifice of the second twilight. Please, Nason, don't accept that man's ring. If you don't accept it, she promised not to select you as a sacrifice.
I cannot do that. Tonight's ring is very special. My heart won't let me refuse it.
Nason! The sacrifices of the ceremony is decided on the witch's whims. And that witch has promised to overlook just you, Nason! You alone will definitely be able to go to the Golden Land.
Only me? What about you, Canon?
The witch's game is enough for me. I'll slip through her clutches. I'm not powerless. I'll tightly grasp that big chance. After all, our lives are transient, aren't they? In order to begin our real lives. Let's drag ourselves to the Golden Land. Then, we'll gain humanity. And when we've done that, maybe I'll be able to experience romance just like you, Nason. Maybe I won't have to make someone cry just because I'm furniture.
Canon.
I've had enough of being furniture. I'll definitely become human. I'll escape this pain. No matter what!
There were tears in Canon's eyes. By now, Canon had noticed. Shannon hadn't been the only one to know and suffer from the taste of love. He had too. The tears Jessica had shown him that day, and Jessica's pitiful face as she tried to smooth things over and stay bright ever since then, had slowly wrought some kind of change on Canon's heart without him knowing it.
That would be great, wouldn't it?
Yes, if only an AU where Shannon and Cam can be happy. Shannon, I've been calling to you for some time now.
Shannon jumped out all of a sudden at the sound of Genji's voice. Apparently he had called for her repeatedly. She hurriedly answered. When she turned back, Kanon had disappeared. It seemed he didn't feel like showing his tears to anybody. Yes, I'm sorry for being careless.
I entrusted Kanon with lunch, but it should have been you, as the next in the rank after me, who carried it. Beatrice is the most honored guest of this house. There is no more honored guest than her. Please think of her as another master and be polite. Please take extra care that you make no blunders, understand? It's quite painful for me to entrust this to someone as inexperienced as yourself, but there's nothing we can do about the house's rules. Carry out your duties with the utmost of care.
Goda had officially agreed, but he glared at Shannon with an expression that told her he definitely wouldn't forgive any mistakes. Even Shannon felt that Goda might as well go himself if he was so desperate to go. But she considered this one of her responsibilities as the one who had been allowed to wear the golden eagle and had to give up.
Oof. Oh yes, it's like Shenron's like, you know what? I think you guys just need therapy. It's time to go.
And anyway, I wanted to meet Beatrice. What will I talk about? What will I ask? I don't know. Will this be a meeting of gratitude or one of grief? Or else what? I don't know. Shannon piled the witch's food onto the serving cart and left the kitchen at a slow pace.
Oh man, if only complexes could easily be removed with a wish. I know that feel. You can try to rationalize as much as you can, but sometimes you can't get that out of your head.
The person knocking was Kraus.
Father, today is our annual family conference. Haven't the siblings gathered here just to get a glimpse of you?
Ah, be silent! I say I won't leave. You're here too, aren't you, Genji? Why haven't you had my food brought here as I ordered you to?
Kenzo screamed across the door. Genji was waiting behind Kraus.
Your meal has been prepared, so it might be carried to the study. However, Kraus has experienced his wish that you eat downstairs tonight.
Father, I'm not asking you to do this every day, but just for one night, won't you gather together with your family?
Who are you calling family? Since when have you considered vultures circling around and wait for roadkill to be family? Would you call rotting, oozing maggots family as well?
I don't like Kinzo, but sometimes the things he says, like his molesting, not like... My.
Kraus shrugged at this answer, which he had half expected.
Genji, carry the meal here as you were told. Why don't you listen to what I say? Why? Why?
Genji, I leave this in your capable hands. My voice will no longer reach that man.
Kraus gave his head a small shake and quickly turned his back on the door to the study.
Yeah, he's like, oh, screw it.
He'd only come calling to save face in front of his siblings, knowing full well how useless this was. After Genji watched Kraus disappear down the stairs, he called again across the door.
Master, we have finished preparations for your meal to be carried here. Shall we bring some for Dr. Nanjo as well? Oh my god. Okay. Give me a moment. I heard a siren.
Anyway, Nanjo could be seen in the study. Because Kinzo had forcefully pestered him into finishing their long-lasting chess game, they had been playing against each other since the early evening. Nanjo had announced as a doctor that Kinzo's days were numbered, so he couldn't refuse if Kinzo demanded that they finish this game while he still lived.
Father, are you sure you won't come down for dinner? I want you dead, you little prick! Do you hear me? Dead!
All right, Father, enjoy your dinner. Yeah, I figured. Kinzo was thinking deeply about his move, concentrating more than usual.
It had been Kinzo's turn for quite some time, and Nanjo, who was tired of waiting, had randomly pulled out a book on magic he couldn't understand and was skimming it.
Kinzo,
You won't think of a good move just by folding your arms and sitting in front of the board. Perhaps we had better take a break and refresh our minds.
be silent! That should be enough to solidify my defense. Will the bishop and the knight be able to penetrate that opening?
Today, Kinzo was focused on maintaining a strong defense. Normally, Kinzo's model was the offense was the best defense.
Me too!
However, today was completely the opposite. I am also hungry. Shall we suspend the game here? Besides, I've used my head so much without a break. I'm already feeling dizzy. At this rate, I might not be able to form at my best.
Now that won't do. In chess, most players must always make their best moves. Any other sort of move is merely a nuisance. To consider ruining a game whose focus is predicting your opponent's thoughts. Such a thing considerably reduces our enjoyment.
Kinzo sighed deeply and finally shifted his gaze again, away from the board. Chess isn't chess without an opponent. If that opponent is tired and wants to suspend the game, there's no getting around it. True. The goal of chess is for both players to make the best possible moves and aim for victory. It's an intellectual game where reading your opponent is key. But Kinzo, have you forgotten there's another goal besides victory?
What? What other goal could there possibly be?
To think that you of all people would forget something like that. Chess is a way to pass time having fun with a friend.
You've got me there. I believe I once said those exact words to you long ago. Yes, you've got me there.
Kinzo, who had almost always wore a frown, relaxed his face for once and laughed. Nanjo felt like he had been reunited with a close friend he hadn't seen in ages. That's how it is. Now that I managed to take a shot back at you, what do you say? You go down with me and have dinner. Why don't we discuss Kasparov's middle game along with some coffee? I don't know if I said that right.
An appealing proposition, but I'm afraid I must decline. I can no longer leave this room. After all, the ceremony has already begun.
Is that so? Well, my stomach is growling. I will go downstairs. Anytime you feel like it.
Nanjo, thank you.
Oh, what could you be thanking me for?
We didn't finish our match. However, it seems I have somehow achieved the second goal of chess, which I had forgotten. And it would appear that goal is no less important than achieving checkmate.
This isn't like you. Why so sentimental?
You said so yourself, did you not? My days in this world are numbered. Now go, and don't come to this room again. Let us continue this match in the Golden Land.
That's fine with me, but we'll have to start over. Losing that rook was a serious blow. Well then, I will see you later.
Yes, later. Maybe in the Golden Land, or in Purgatory, or possibly in the next world.
Nanjo didn't say anything beyond that, and with a motion made smooth by familiarity, he pushed the button on the table that would release the auto lock. Then, after looking at Kinzo's back one last time, he left the study. As he did, Genji's voice came from the hall.
If you are ready, master, I will now carry in your dinner. It may be my final dinner. I must savor it. Please prepare it, as you wish. And now your preparation is complete as well, master. Indeed, in the time leading up to this day, this room has been carefully wrapped in a multitude of barriers. Even if a roulette chooses me, I will definitely repel it. I will remain alive, and will surely become one of those who reach the Golden Land. I shall repulse the visit of the Reapers trying to drag me off to the land of the dead.
Excuse me. I've come to serve your meal. Shannon had entered the VIP room, bowing her head and pushing the serving cart. The young woman by the window, gazing out into the supposedly empty darkness, was definitely that witch.
So it is Shannon this time. How long it's been. Huh? Your face isn't nearly as pale as it once was. I can see you're no Canon. I hardly recognize you.
Thank you very much.
Shannon solemnly prepared dinner. There were actually several things she wanted to ask the witch, but they were all jumbled up and she didn't know where to start. Her heart was also jumbled up as she didn't even understand her own emotions, so she could only do her job dispassionately with everything still vague. However, the witch saw what was in her heart. You can't hide anything from a witch.
I won't apologize. I am a witch after all.
Apologize for what?
Come now. Kano must have told you about it. I only rescued your love life because of my mischievous spirit. It was nothing more than a seed I sowed so that I could watch your love grow complicated, become twisted and fail.
I imagine some people think it's more fun to hear about love than to have it.
You couldn't possibly be trying to thank me, right?
I am. No matter what kind of ulterior motive you had when you gave me the magic of love, it doesn't change the fact that I received it from you. So even if you sowed that seed knowing that the two of us wouldn't be able to stay together for life, I won't hold a grudge against you.
It seems furniture is dull after all. This is where I show my skill by cooking it to something interesting.
I don't understand what you're thinking, Beatrice. You are a great witch, and people like us don't even reach your feet. Nor can we even imagine your grand thoughts. But there is at least one thing I can say.
What is it?
Thank you for teaching me to be human. You said it yourself. I am no longer furniture.
Be silent, furniture. If you were a true human, hearing the announcement of your death on that day you were to receive an engagement ring should have you dancing around mad with grief. But what are you doing? Your face looks so enlightened, as though you've received everything and accepted everything. Oops, my bad. But what are you doing? Your face looks so enlightened, as though you accepted everything. Truly an anticlimax, furniture.
No, I am not furniture.
Be silent, furniture.
I won't be silent, because I'm not furniture.
Are you saying you won't obey my orders?
Furniture obeys orders, but a human decides for herself whether to obey orders or not. So I won't obey your orders.
I take back what I said. You really are interesting. If I hadn't sowed those seeds, you probably would have allowed the ceremony to control your fate without clinging to any emotions. But now you've grown to become something truly interesting, something that will entertain me to no end. That as well, for I'm not fond of boredom.
Dinner is ready. Here you go.
Doesn't this look delicious? If Goda makes it to the Golden Land, perhaps I shall commission him as my chief cook.
I heard it from Kano. Something about how if I rejected George's proposal, you promised not to make me a sacrifice.
Indeed, I said as much. You would make an ideal potential sacrifice for the second twilight. But because Kanon cried and screamed asking that I spare you, I graciously listened to his words, with the condition you abandon your engagement, of course. See how gracious I am.
What a foolish offer. And what a foolish threat. So you used that to thoroughly bully Canon, didn't you?
Huh. So you comprehend.
Apparently, Shannon had seen through it. She apparently guessed at how the witch had bullied and humiliated Canon, with a horrible promise as bait.
I made him crawl on the carpet and kiss my shoes. And that's not all. Do you want to hear the other ways in which I humiliated him?
Shannon silently shook her head.
I finally come to understand you. You like to bully, confuse, and trouble people, and you do it to entertain yourself. So now I know for sure the one single way I can resist you.
And what might that be?
I don't care about you. I'll carry out the fate that's been given to me. That's all. I won't entertain you.
I don't care about you!
The witch's features twisted in hatred for just an instant. It disappeared immediately. But the expression that briefly rose to her face was rare for a witch, whose malicious smile usually never faded for a second.
I see, so you might resist me in that way. How amusing. How truly entertaining. I'll kill you. You and your lover both.
If that's the fate you decide upon, do as you will. I won't be afraid, and I won't stand against you. After all, I don't believe in that cruel fate that's coming is something controlled by your will. We humans know nothing about fates that might come to pass in the future. That's why I live to the fullest until the last instant, following my convictions and the fate set before me. Fate is just a roll of the dice. There's no malice in it. Even if you claim there is, I won't believe it.
Huh. So even though you quit being furniture, you have no fear of death. It seems you believe this will bore me, but you couldn't be more wrong. The thought of seeing whether you can hold on to that view until the last moment merely serves to intrigue me more and more.
I can't stand this. Why did you take the form of a human and appear in front of us, speak with human words, and ridicule us? If you hadn't appeared in front of us, if you hadn't predicted the future, we would have been able to live life to the fullest until the last moment.
That's what witches do. I live off your fates, reigning as a high order being, thus over lower beings. Your fates are nothing more than fragments. If I cut my hands together, I could scoop out as many of those as I want. Just like how no matter what beef cows I raise might babble, it doesn't change the fact that I'll be having them for dinner.
We are powerless, so we cannot fight against your ceremony or fate. But I can make you unhappy right now.
Oh, and how were you planning to accomplish this?
By walking away from this place right now. No matter how I respond to your words, it will only amuse you. Refusing to respond to your questions is my only method of resisting you.
I see. You might be able to take a shot at me, but you cannot defeat me, yes. I have the power to kill anyone for eternity. I cannot wait to see whether you can keep out that resistance, an endlessly repeating cycle of death and rebirth. Don't you forget, okay? You spoke those words yourself.
Well then, if you excuse me, if you need anything, please call me.
Shannon gave a reserved bow and faced away. With that gesture, maybe she really did take a shot back at the witch, just as Beatrice said, because when the witch called out again, she sounded a little more quick-tempered than she had before.
Canon thanked me. Can't you? Can't you thank me for bringing you that day of your rest?
Furniture may be happy when their day of rest comes, but I am a human, so I have nothing to thank you for. Is that all you have to say?
You plan to accept George's ring, yes? Don't forget, if you do, I'll abandon the promise I made with Canon. The promise that you would not be selected as a sacrifice.
If you need anything else, I'll have someone else come. If you will excuse me.
A flat-out interruption. Shadow still hadn't answered her, and the sound of the door closing came instead of an answer. Shadow's resistance probably struck far more deeply into the witch than Shannon herself thought. Because an expression of hatred once again rose to Beatrice's face. She had made Canon submit, even though he hadn't been ensnared until the end, whereas Shannon, who had been so easily ensnared before, refused to submit this time.
I see. So this state of affairs is amusing after all. Perhaps I really am still young. This is why I haven't tired of life after 1,000 years.
I know, right? I can't wait. I hope so. I mean, I've had some practice reading and stuff. Like, hopefully, because I think it's been a year since I've read it. Oh yes, yes she does. Like Dio. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it makes me think of Dio in that one Abridged series thing. This is the most fabulous part of the family conference, dinner. In the past, when Kinzo had been serious about the conference, he'd taken everyone's yearly gathering for dinner very seriously, because anything embarrassing that occurred during the dinner would cause the deepest shame for him as the host. He has given Natsu stern orders to avoid embarrassment at all costs. Because of that, she and Kraus eventually hired Goda, who had confidence in his cooking abilities. And also, because Sayaka Ohara, of course. Thanks to that, they became able to serve wonderful dinners they could be confident in. But by that time, Kinzo had closed himself up in his study and had never appeared for dinner. Eyes of Heaven, that's the video game, right? I don't have that video game. I mean, I haven't had any JoJo games. I've seen, like, the anime. I still need to read the manga. Like, I think I'm up to part 4. So yeah, it's gonna take me a while. Maybe you could call that ironic. When the main dish for tonight, calf steak, was set out, Goda began to describe it proudly, further stimulating everyone's appetites. Oh yes, I think I've seen some of those. Like, and I've seen some of, like, the combo stuff too. The sauce here is border lace. I have no idea how the hell to say that. Of course, the red wine base I used was excellent, even among those made in Bordeaux. But in addition, I prepared an original blend in this house. A blend of choice alcohol from around the world to further deepen the taste. This sauce is limited to this year. I sincerely hope you all enjoy your meal. Isn't that wonderful? However, isn't Bordelais sauce common to French cooking? It almost seems like using alcohol from outside France, but that is heresy. Cheeseburger. Kraus, today is the annual family conference. As dinner for those who normally live far away, and those who have traveled from far across the world to gather together, I realized it would be most fitting to have a sauce made from the blend of fine alcohols from all over the planet that had never met each other before, so I had it specially prepared. A very big burger? Yum yum. Wonderful, a truly wonderful cook, that's what you are. Food and medicine work twice as well if you sell it right. It's already twice as delicious as normal food, and the advertising makes it twice as good as that. The taste keeps doubling and doubling. Come on, Nissan. That question of yours is obviously a plant. No doubt about it. You totally set go to steal the show on that one. You think so? I thought there might be some people here who didn't notice that today's food was in French style. After all, Ava just said that avoiding butter was a virtue, but that's the Spanish style. Well, I guess they do share a border, right? Burger cake. That's not what I meant. Will you please not take a part of the conversation out of context and make stuff up? It's a very delicious sauce. Goda, you certainly are amazing. It's a great honor to receive your praise, and this is all thanks to Madame's habitual guidance. No, it was all Goda's idea. I only listened to the recipe and approved of it. It looked like the siblings quickly got into a loud argument about the sauce, but for the most part, dinner proceeded peacefully. Well, at least they seemed to be having fun. However, a certain question they desperately wanted to ask was burned inside each one of them. It was about that visitor, the 19th person, the Golden Witch. I have to win at meal. Yum yum. In actuality, Ava and Rudolph and the rest were very much on their guards during this meal. Oh yes. If the mystery guest was ever going to be introduced, this dinner table would be the most appropriate place to do it. However, no place was set at the dinner table for the witch. The family conference would begin in earnest after the meal, and previous experiences told them it might last until deep into the night. However, they couldn't imagine why such a person should be kept hidden until late, if they were going to be introduced in the end anyway. So Ava and Rudolph and the rest were starting to feel a certain suspicion. Perhaps this guest was unknown even to Kraus. If this wasn't an assassin called by Kraus to give him an advantage in the inheritance problem, then maybe they should speak frankly to Kraus beforehand, creating a common front to resist anything disadvantageous to the four siblings. If she was Kinzo's assassin, whose purpose to keep the inheritance from being handed over to the four siblings, the enmity between Kraus and the other siblings could only become a weak point that benefited the enemy. Well then, please enjoy at your leisure. He finished explaining the reasoning behind the table setting and the cooking. Goda tried to leave the room, but Kyrie called to him to stop with a small voice. Yes, Kyrie, what is it? Please excuse me. I was under the impression we had company today, but can we expect to be joined at the dinner table? She had planned on saying it nonchalantly, but unfortunately it reached the ears of Natsuhi, who was sitting in the next seat over. It seemed that Natsuhi had heard even though the guests are here, why hasn't the host come to dinner? In other words, Kira had asked whether Kinzo was going to join them for dinner. The family head is not his best, so he said he would take his dinner in his study. I believe my husband explained that in the beginning. I'm sorry, that's not what I meant. Natsuhi's reaction instantly told Kiri this unknown visitor was also unknown to Kraus and his wife. Which meant, on the chessboard inside Kiri's mind, she could hear the clattering of the pieces as they rearranged themselves. What do you mean we have company? Balor, who had been sitting next to Natsuhi, seemed to have heard Kiri's words without misunderstanding them. Thinking it was strange that someone else would be invited to today's family conference, he spoke up incredulously. And thanks to that, the uncomfortable feeling in the building in the siblings' chest suddenly exploded. Everyone looked at Goda at the same time. Judging by their reactions, it was clear no one here had been invited. Wait. What the hell? What am I doing? Okay. Judging by their reactions, it was clear that no one else here had invited that mystery woman. For an instant, Goda was startled to find everyone's gazes gathered on him, but because of his naturally vain personality, this actually gave him a feeling of superiority. Therefore, he answered in an extremely calm and graceful manner. That is correct. Our guest wanted to eat alone in the VIP room and is being served there. The extremely graceful and reasonable response of Goda made it obvious to everyone that a 90 person, a visitor, existed. The VIP room, a guest. What? Who are you talking about? Natsuhi's words echoed the question that everyone who didn't know about the appearance of the Golden Witch was thinking. For a while, Goda was disoriented, caught completely off guard by this sudden interrogation. This is a guest who had been treated with such deep respect. He hadn't imagined that Kraus and his wife might not even know about her. The guest is, Beatrice.
Beatrice! See? Beatrice came!
Maria had been telling the other cousins over and over again that she met Beatrice that day. The cousins had answered flippantly, but they hadn't believed. So, their eyes grew wide. Sorry, I totally thought you were joking, Maria. So, she really was there? By Beatrice, you mean that witch with the gold?
I've been saying she exists the whole time! No one believes!
Sorry, Maria. That's not how we meant it. After learning that everyone had doubted Beatrice's existence, Maria, who had been in a good mood all day, completely lost her temper. George, who sat in the next seat over, tried frantically to calm Maria. Goda, is this some sort of dinner entertainment? Quite a performance. Aniki, we're playing dumb. You called her here, right? Called? Called whom? From where? Nissan. Let's be clear about this. Who is she? Surely you aren't going to tell us it really is Beatrice from that portrait, right? I don't have a clue what you people are talking about. Goda, you really aren't joking, right? I was just ordered by Genji, Call for Genji! Immediately! When Natsu yelled, Goda sped out into the hallway. The sound of the door being thrown open was a spark that suddenly set the dinner table ablaze. So you're saying that you're in the dark too, Aniki? Who called her? Was it Dad? I don't know anything about this. It seems you people think I've been pulling the strings behind the scenes, but that's a huge misunderstanding. Call now, Kraus. You've got past the stage of skirmishing with each other. If you're saying even you don't know this mystery person, then something's crazy's going on. Hideyoshi, can't you be a little more discreet with your words?
My husband would not invite unnecessary people to the family conference. Obviously. What are you people talking about? Are you saying the witch of the portrait has broken out of her frame and appeared? It's not as though anyone's actually met this witch face to face. I met her! Ava and Rudolph nodded at Rosa's proclamation.
Ah! I met her too! Uncle Kraus believe it! Believe Mama! Ah! Ah!
The brief tension was broken, and Maria also started to make a ruckus. By now, the room was thoroughly wrapped in chaos. I don't have a clue what's going on, so what does it mean? Does it mean the witch who gave grandfather the gold is showing up as a special guest this year? But is that really true? Aunt Rosa didn't see it wrong, did she?
I met her too! Ah! 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 Ah!
Aunt Rosa, are you sure? Yes, Maria and I met her, and we even talked to her. I met her. That was definitely a witch. Believe me. I definitely didn't see it wrong or hallucinate or anything. What on earth was that? In an instant before the typhoon arrived, Rosa definitely met a witch in the rose garden. But the scene had been so hard to accept as truth. The more she spoke of it like this, the less she understood what she had encountered. Ironically, since she was losing her composure, the more frantically she tried to cling to her claim, the more confused and hazy the thing she was trying to describe became. Because of that, it only took a single calmly spoken sentence to confirm the nature of what she was describing beyond doubt. I also met with her. I greeted. Well, I couldn't really call it that. I exchanged a few words with her. It's definitely not something that Rosa just saw wrong. Curie, are you serious? Yes, but she didn't tell me her name, so I can't say for certain that she was Beatrice. However, and sorry if this is subjective, but since I met her in the entrance hall, I was able to compare her face with the portrait. My first impression was that this portrait has to be hers. This is all just subjective. That isn't possible! In the first place, where did that woman come from? The only boat arriving today was the one that brought all of you here. Was she on that boat? Well, it's hard to say for sure, but of course I don't remember any woman like that getting off the boat with us. Oh, is that all? Can you prove there wasn't a boat beside the one we rode on? You can't! You can't prove that one didn't arrive. Makes sense. If another boat did arrive, it might be possible to prove it. If someone saw it and said they saw it, then you're done. But it's impossible to prove that a boat didn't arrive. Even if everyone says that there's no such boat arrived, that they didn't see it arrive, you can't prove that it didn't arrive secretly. It's a thing called a devil's proof. It'd be simple to prove that devils exist. All you have to do is meet a devil. But it's impossible to prove that devils don't exist. Just by saying that no one has ever met a devil, you can't deny the possibility that they're hiding away somewhere humans can't go. You can't deny the existence of aliens for exactly the same reason. Until humanity searches the whole of space and can perfectly show that aliens don't exist, you can't be sure they don't exist. And it's definitely impossible for us to check the entirety of space for the existence of aliens. Therefore, while there be a number of ways to prove that aliens do exist, it will always be impossible to show proof that denies their existence. So any discussion about there being a second boat would just be a waste of our time. She wasn't on the boat with us. That much is a fact, so she must have arrived on the island through some other means. That's right. There may be no need to discuss how she came here. What's important is that she's actually in this mansion now, and doesn't feel like having dinner with us. Okay, let's review. Right now, there's another guest on this island, other than 18 people with the Ushiromiya family. And this is a guest even Aniki and Natsu you don't know about, right? I know nothing! I don't know what you're talking about! Be silent for now. Your headache will get worse. It is as my wife says. I have no idea what your people have been talking about up until now. Then there can only be one answer then. Father called her here. Called her here for today's family conference. For the family conference? Again, why? I don't know that. I'm questioning you because I thought you might know. Ava, could you give it a rest? Cross says he doesn't know. So here's what we got. Father stealthily invited the witch of the portrait as a secret guest, and she met with Rosa and Maria, and then Kyrie. That's all for now. If she has something to say to us, she could just show herself right away. Now we gotta wonder why she shut herself up without greeting us.
Does this mean Dan, who never gave a crap about his family conference in the first place, secretly got a new mistress here? And had to wear the clothes of his ideal witch? This day is too important for that explanation to fly. There can only be one reason to join in the family conference. She wants to claim some right to father's inheritance. Ridiculous! The family head wouldn't have something as filthy as a mistress! I told you to be quiet! I've lived in this mansion with father all this time. I've never heard about a thing like that. If we stretch the plausibility to the limit, and assume father had an illegitimate child with some mistress decades ago, then maybe father searched her out and called her here today. Is that what you're trying to say? Dear! It's absurd to think that father has such a child! To waste the noble blood of the Ushimiya family on such a mistress! This is nothing more than a few people making wild claims. It's obviously a fantasy, a delusion, a daydream. Or is everyone taking part in some kind of act to trick my husband? What act? If anyone's acting, it's you! Quit it, Aneki. Natsumi may be a bit over vehement. Wait. Quit it, Aneki. Natsumi may be a bit over vehement, but she's right. Kiri saw her, I didn't. Neither did you, Aneki. But Rosa did. But that means she exists. There are people who can prove she exists. So we're sure right away that she does. It's the opposite of a devil's proof. And I want to meet her too. I want to ask her directly what kind of business she has with the Ushimiya family. I agree with you on that. I do indeed wish to inquire as to what business she has on Rokenjima. Don't play dumb! There's only one thing she could be after. Father's inheritance! We should work out our future plans with a lawyer who's hot on inheritance issues. If the mistress claims equal rights as mother, then our shares will be cut right in half.
Wait a second, everybody! Genji will come very soon. He knows everything. I'm sure he'll be able to answer our questions. Until then, let's stop talking about this. Hey, you kids! Sorry, but the adults have to start talking about something complicated. Return to the guest house! Rosa yelled at the children, slightly overcome with emotion. The children didn't understand why they were suddenly being yelled at this time, but Ava and the rest realized it too late. They were talking so bluntly about the filthy topic of inheritance right in front of the children. Of course they wouldn't want their children to remain, so they all immediately agree with Rosa's plan. That's right, just as Rosa says. George, take all the cousins and go back to the guest house. You all play nice together.
George, do as you're told. Take all the cousins and leave right now.
Wait a second, Mother! We still haven't finished eating!
Ah! And dessert hasn't even come yet! Ah!
That's right! We will have Goda take dessert to the guest house. So leave! Jessica. From here on out, the adults will be talking together. Go. Sure. Even though I'm still eating. Well, I guess I won't be the only exception. Thanks for understanding, Valor. But you sure are lucky. Huh? Why? I'd want to leave if I could. I bet. I'll let you adults enjoy your happy family chat about the inheritance. I will also leave my seat. At any rate, it appears my turn will not come tonight. Nanjo quickly rose to his feet. From his seat in the farthest corner, he'd been watching calmly the whole discussion without butting in. Surely that reaction of his was very adult. Just what you would expect from a calm old gentlemanly man. When Nanjo rose from his seat, it ended up encouraging the others who were supposed to leave. The children noisily rose from their seats as they hurried into the hallway. The servants returned. I apologize for taking so long. I've called Genji.
I was checking to see that all the doors and windows were shut, so it took me some time. My apologies.
Come on, children, to the guest house! Goda, my apologies, but could you carry the children's portion of the dessert to the guest house? Is that what you wish? It seems Goda wasn't amused to see dinner he worked so hard on interrupted like this. He said Natsuki a look as though asking her whether that was really okay. Do as Rosa says. It will not be necessary to set out dessert for us. Do not approach the dining hall until we call for you. Tell the rest of the servants to do the same. Understood? Yes, as you wish. No, I know, right? No, not the food! It's always the worst when eating time is interrupted. Come on, everyone. Shall we go? Maria, you mustn't trouble your mother anymore.
I want to talk about Banto too! No!
Maria, could you tell us about Beatrice in the guest house? I really want to hear about the witch, okay?
Huh? Ah!
You're pretty darn smooth, George. I'm impressed. Are you sure you don't have kids? You're too used to this.
No.
I know, right? Food should never be wasted. Somebody gotta eat all that dessert the adults won't eat. I vote to volunteer. George's words had completely restored Maria's good mood, and now that she took the initiative, telling the others to head on to the guest house. It looked like Goda didn't like being kicked out himself, but he couldn't disobey Natsuki, so he left the room with Battler and the rest closing the door.
Is there some way I might be of service to everyone? Yeah, there sure is. We've got a whole bunch of questions. In fact, every one of us does. So much that we almost want to have a lottery to see who gets asked first. Yoda's like, I get to eat my dessert. Kumasawa be lucky. But no matter who wins the first lottery, the first question will always be the same, wouldn't it? That's right. Genji, answer me honestly. Who is this person called Beatrice in the VIP room right now?
Alright. Let's do the save. Alright. And let's see. Is there anything... Any tips? No. Alright. Well, then... Looks like that's all for tonight. Good night.